All right, hi everybody, John Meadows, and I'm here with my friend Dave Tate, and hopefully you saw the bench press videos the last 2 days, and now we're moving on to the squat.
Yes.
So what are we hitting today, Dave?
So we're going to start with 5 squat exercises that you asked, my 5 favorite squat exercises. And to preface this, I love the squat. The squat is I don't know what the kids call it nowadays, but it's been my favorite exercise since I first started trying. I love the squat.
Yep.
So I'm going to be more passionate about this one than I am the others. I don't dislike the bench. I hate the deadlift. I'm not going to lie, I hate the deadlift. So that video is going to be short. Like, don't deadlift, see you later. But the squat,
yeah,
I got that down. So I love the squat. So we're going to start with the 5 exercises, then we'll move into technical aspects as well. So the same stuff as the bench.
Okay. I love the squat too. It's my absolute favorite too. So
the exercises, again, like the bench videos, are in no specific order. They're just my go-to exercises that if you look at my own programming or the people that I've helped with programming, you're always going to find these exercises in those programs in some way or another. I don't think they're holy grails, but I do think that if they're added in your program, it will guarantee, I'm supposed to say guarantee, that your squat will go up, especially if they're not in there at all. So some of these are not going to be exercises that you guys are going to think when it comes to the squat. There's only one in here that would actually be classified or people would list as a quad exercise. Everything else isn't. And we'll talk about that more tomorrow when we get into the technique aspect on how these all tie in. So the first exercise on my list is a hanging leg raise. So the reason for the hanging leg raise are multiple, why I have them in there. I usually like to have people do those as part of their warm-up to be able to, I like the hanging leg raise because a lot of the issues I see with people trying to build their squat up is they get bound up. The hip flexors get bound up. They don't have the ability to be able to drive the hips through the way they should. And a lot of times from what I see, it's because either doing restricted range squatting for long periods of time, shortens the range of motion. They lose a little bit of the mobility, and just not doing anything, sitting too long, the same things that you always hear all the time. So when you're doing a hanging leg raise, that opens it all up. So just by hanging, without even doing anything, just by hanging, even if you're using the cuffs or just straight to the bar, you're not only opening up the shoulder girdle, but you're also opening up the hips, which is what I'm more interested in there. From there, optimally, I'd like to see a straight leg raise to where you go up and kick the bar at the top and back down. When you have to do it that way, that is going to ensure that the hips tilt at the very top. A lot of people aren't going to be strong. Most people are not going to be strong enough to do that. So they're just going to end up starting with knee ups. The problem with the knee ups is if they only do that over a period of time, the hips never shift. You see, the straight leg forces that to happen. And yes, some people aren't going to be strong enough to be able to get it up and shift the hip, but they should be. So if it is to where they can't do that, I would do one set of just the knee up, the next set of pulling the knees into position and just hip shift, and then back down. So this all I've talked about so far is the mobility aspect. It's also going to strengthen core, torso, abs, whatever you want to say, all this between here and here. Let me just start my own thing. All this between here and here. That way nobody can criticize or say that's the wrong thing or whatever. I'm beyond all that crap. So this we need to get stronger. So it's going to build that, and that leads to that transfer of force. It leads to a stronger squat. I like to use the example of if somebody was to picture somebody squatting and you took their torso out and put a marshmallow in there, and then they're at the bottom and they flex as hard as they can with their legs to get the bar moving, and it gets lost in the marshmallow. It doesn't transfer to the bar. Pull that out, put a rock in there. Now that transfer is going to go through. So if your torso is not strong, okay, you can be fat, still strong. So if your torso is not strong, you lose that transfer. Not only do you lose the transfer, but you lose where the bar is going to go. So you can come up, the bar falls forward, and then that's going to be detrimental to your squat. So it's building that up. It's going to have other applications, as we're going to talk about later. But that's a go-to. That's almost non-negotiable in my book. Okay, the second exercise is, I'm going to group it again like I did with the bench. I'm just going to say hamstrings, but I'm going to say hamstrings compound exercise. I'm trying to make this as easy as I can. So if I say compound exercise, I'm hoping, and most of the people listening, they're going to be thinking things like an RDL, a Romanian deadlift, a stiff leg deadlift, a glute ham raise, big movements that are going to work the hamstring from the knee and hip joint at the same time. If I say an isolation movement, I'm going to think you're thinking seated leg curls, things that are one leg curls, stuff like that. So I'm putting the description out there, or my definition out there, to make sure we're on the same page, because I can say movements that are going to work the hamstring from origin and insertion, but that's probably going to go over most people's heads. So compound movements. From those, I like the stiff leg, like I said, stiff leg deadlift, Romanian deadlift, and the glute ham raise, probably the glute ham raise, better than all of them, just because it's a body weight movement. It's in a different plane from where you're working from. You can increase the volume a lot higher than you can the other movements, because the way that they're loaded and they're weighted. I'm not saying that they're not, they're all good. I use all of them, so I rotate them all through. I'm putting 3 out because you might not have a glute ham. I can probably guarantee you probably don't have a glute ham raise. I can tell you where to get one, but you don't have a glute ham raise. I get that. But you got a barbell. If you got a barbell, you can do a stiff leg deadlift, you do a Romanian deadlift. And you can look those up online. I'm sure John's got exercise index that he can show them in there. To me, they both have the same end value. I don't think one's better than the other unless you know how to do one very well and you suck at doing the other one. Then spend more time doing the one you know really well and work really hard on making the one you suck at better. So sets and reps. We didn't get into that with the hanging leg raise, because anytime anything's a body weight exercise, so just a straight glute ham raise, hanging leg raise, sets and reps to me are completely irrelevant. The way I like to put those into a program and for recommendations is I'm going to say do 20 reps today. So if that takes you 10 sets, fine, 10 sets of 2. If it takes you 2 sets, fine, 2 sets. If you can start routinely hitting 10 to 15, no, actually 15 to 20 reps on a body weight movement, then we're going to start talking about loading those. So 20 is a good total rep package to start at. 50 is a good package to train at. 100 is a good package to be able to push hard at. So that's for body weight. And if it's push-ups, I'm going to say the same thing. So it's this, for me, it kind of falls in the same body weight segment. Chin-ups, same thing. Because if you think about it, if you can't do chin-ups, or you really suck at chin-ups, and I'm telling you need to do 20 reps total, it might take you a whole friggin' workout to be able to do it, because it might be 20 sets, of singles to be able to get it done. That can take a long period of time. So back to the Romanian deadlifts and stiff leg deadlifts. I'm going to say 6 to 8 reps in that range for most people, because it's going to take a couple reps. Especially if it's an RDL, it's going to take a couple reps for you to get a good feel of, are you pushing your hips back enough to feel, when you do an RDL, you should feel like you're stretching your hamstrings, like when you were a kid and the coach told you to stretch your hamstrings. You should feel that stretching from your knee to your ass. And if it's not, then you need to bend the knee a little bit more and sit back a little bit harder. So that's where there. So usually it's going to take, even experienced people, it's going to take a rep or 2 for them to kind of figure out where their hips are going to be. So if it's 8 reps, I know you're going to get at least 6 really good ones. Stiff legs are going to be a little bit different. That one I like to be more, it's still in the 6 to 8 range, but more in the 6, because you don't need those first reps, because it's not as much, you just don't want the bar to be drifting so far out in front of you that it's all lower back. We're still looking to try to hit the hamstrings here. So an easy way to describe the difference between the two, one of them you should feel like your hamstrings are tearing in half. The other one should feel like your hamstrings are stretching, but you're able to use more weight. So John has videos that you guys can throw in this, here, wherever it's going to go, to be able to show, what there. But 6 to 8. How many sets? 3 to 4. I'm just throwing against the wall. General, if I was to program somebody, that's where I would start. The third exercise, I think it's the third exercise, it's lower back. All right, and on this one, I love the good morning. There's a lot of variations of good mornings you can do. I'm spoiled because I got every specialty bar known to man. But, the good morning with a giant cambered bar, with a cambered bar to me is way better than with a straight bar. Most of you don't have it. Good morning with a SS yoke bar, they all have different feels. So there's different ways. You got different stances, which we'll get into in a little bit too. But the good morning, as far as the squat goes, is going to have its application of being able to keep the bar moving in the direction and the trajectory that you want it to move in coming out of the hole, which we're going to talk more about tomorrow. It's building that again, that's in the torso area from the lower back side. And it's also, if you're looking at a reoccurring theme, we're hitting the hamstrings with that too. So to me, the squat is driven by the posterior chain. Yes, there's people that are going to completely disagree with that, but again, to harp on what I've been saying through this whole series, if I was to sit down and speak to them within 20 minutes, I'm going to realize we're both saying the same things. They're just going about it a little bit different training philosophy standpoint. But by no means am I saying the quads are not important, and by no means are those people saying the hamstrings are not important. It's a lot of it's just marketing, positioning, bullshit, stuff like that, which I really don't like to play a whole lot of. We'll move on. I don't want to get into a rant about this. But anyhow, the good mornings are where I'm going to put in there. Doesn't matter what type of good morning. If you just need to put a band, John has the band training during the quarantine. So if it's just a banded good morning, do that. Sets and reps, that's where it's going to change based upon the type of good morning. If it's a good morning that just, you can't load heavy. You can't load a banded good morning heavy unless you're just pathetically weak, but that's, you just can't load it heavy. So yeah, you're going to push those reps up, 15, 20 reps per set, somewhere in that range, 3 to 4 sets. SS yoke bar, you're probably not going to load the good mornings real heavy because it's sitting so high. It's in a high bar position. So that's going to be, the 6 to 8. It's going to be a little bit higher reps there, where a low bar good morning, say a cambered bar good morning, yeah, you can push those. If it's a Duffalo bar or a Buffalo bar, you can push those hard and go heavy into 3s. But just base that on common sense. If you're doing a good morning and it's like, hey, I feel like this is if it's a back attack machine, I feel like this is a movement I can go heavy on and not break my back. All right, then you can take it down into the 3 to 5 range. If it's not the case, then keep it up. I like, because it's such a big movement in the arsenal that I like to put them all in there. So I'll have some phases of the 3 to 5s, and then it's going to go up, to the 15 to 20 for a while, sometimes mixed. So they're just programming variables. So on that one, I don't have a definitive, here's the best range, because it depends upon the style of good morning you're doing. Number 4, front squat. You're not going to see it in a lot of my programs because I have a problem with that, as I'm not very good at teaching it. So that's all it comes down to, is if I'm not good at teaching something, then I'm not going to put it out there. So then why is it one of my top 4 exercises? Because I've seen it work for too many damn people for it to not be one of my top 4 exercises. All right, guys, sorry for the slight interruption. I am at work, so this is my day at work. And back to the front squat. My point with the front squat is, just because I suck at teaching it doesn't mean I can't implement it into other people's program if they know how to do it, or if they have access to a front squat harness, or they can use SS yoke bar, turn it backwards. There's a lot of creative ways to be able to do front squats today that you can find all over the internet to be able to put them in there. The reason why I like the front squat is it forces a little bit different chest position. It's going to force, the rib cage down a little bit, and over the years, people have over exaggerated on how high the rib cage should be when you squat. And you don't want the rib cage to be super, super high when you squat, because it's going to stretch out the abdominal wall. I'm not telling you that you have to be in a complete crunch position. I don't believe that's true either. I think it's a happy medium. But regardless of that, when it's forcing you down, it's teaching you to keep the torso tight, which we're going to talk more about with the technical aspect tomorrow. So it helps with that. The problem for a lot of people is if you're spending more time worried about holding the bar, or it's hurting your shoulders or your arms, then just don't do it. You can always, squat reverse on a hack squat, Sometimes even a lot of hack squats with the right setting, you can simulate the same type of feel that you're going to get from the front squat. So, sets and reps with that. I like it higher because the problem when you load it, even if it is a harness or it's a yoke bar backwards, it still becomes cumbersome the heavier the weight gets for 90% of the people. So 10 to 15 reps is what I like, because that forces the intensity, the weight, to be lighter. So people can't load it up for 15 reps unless, nobody can. They're just not going to be able to. So it manages that a little bit better. Why the front squat? Again, the rib position is what I'm talking about, but also the ability to keep your feet, it teaches you to keep your feet flat, which we're going to talk about tomorrow as well, without having to really focus on it that much. So that's another, you're going to see a lot of these tips and a lot of the exercises that I'm given, I'm very technique based. Where I said in the bench video, 80% of overcoming sticking points, in my opinion, is technical. So exercises that I like the best reinforce the best technique without having to have a lot of cueing with that. So it kind of falls hand in hand with that. All right, the last thing is going to not be an exercise again, and it's not even going to be muscle group oriented, it's stance oriented. You should be using different stances of squatting and leg work in your training. So if you're a wide stance squatter, you should be doing some work with the close and medium stance and vice versa. Yes, I do believe a wide stance will always increase the strength of a close stance, but not vice versa. Regardless, you still need to do both. So, shoulder width, let's just take the medium out. Let's keep it easy. So shoulder width squats and then wide stance squats. And it can be, if you're using a belt squat, it can be a yoke bar. Doesn't really matter what it is. If you're using a squat stance that's not your primary squat stance, keep the repetitions in the 6 to 8 range. Don't go lower than that because your body's not accustomed to it. Your technique's going to be accustomed to it. And I want the weight a little bit lighter so you can focus and think about what you're actually working and what's moving the bar, so it doesn't just become a mess where you're trying to lift anything up however you possibly can. Okay, to wrap up, those are the exercises. With this, there's so many exercises with the squat to be able to pick from, to be able to help build the squat. To me, the key thing is you got to have some. If you want to build the squat, there's got to be some. But to digress back on what I've talked about before, the movements that you pull into the program to try to increase the squat are always going to only be 10% of the equation. And for those that disagree with me on this, how would you then explain the people that do no accessories but still get stronger squats, bench, and deadlifts? So they have their role, but you got to understand what that role really is and keep that in mind as you're going along your strength training journey, because too many times the question that I'm asked is, Dave, what exercise should I do to get my squat stronger? Dave, what exercise should I do to get my bench stronger? What exercise do I need to do for my lockout? What exercise do I need to do to be stronger out of the hole on the squat? I've been hearing these same questions for 40 years or whatever it's been now. Rarely is that the answer. It's almost never the answer, but it's the easy answer everybody wants. For the real answers on how to be able to do that, you want to check back tomorrow when we go over the technical aspects, because that's the 80% that increases your squat.